We're now going to go to Tanya Granic-Allen, who joins us to discuss the election of Pope Leo XIV. Tanya, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me here, Theresa.
So I want to start with your reaction to the announcement of Pope Leo, who wasn't considered to be a frontrunner for most of people who were closely watching.
Yes, I think like many Catholics around the world, the moment the announcement was made, when Cardinal Provost, now Pope Leo, stepped onto the loggia, we were wondering, who is this man? But he was known by many cardinals and bishops because he headed a dicastery, which is, for all intents and purposes, a division of the Vatican that was appointing appointing bishops around the world. So he did develop quite a good relationship with a number of his cardinal electors and bishops throughout the last couple of years he held this post. And I always like to look at tradition because I tend to lean that way. And the fact that he appeared on the loggia wearing the red mozzetta, which is the traditional garment used that is customary to wear, and it was a garment that actually Pope Francis eschewed. He did not wear that, and that was sort of a departure. But he decided to. Pope Leo said, "I'm going to wear it." And I know people said, well, he came out of nowhere. He wasn't a strong contender, but he was actually amongst the papabile, which are the ones that are considered in running, if you will, or potential favorites to become pope. But I actually was surprised he was elected because he is an American. So I view that, because it was an election on the fourth ballot as well, which is relatively quick, that it was a compromise pick, say, of the more liberal-leaning faction, if you will. And, I think a lot of cardinals could agree on him as that compromise pick. Pope Benedict, for example, was picked on the third ballot. Pope Francis on the fifth. So again, this was relatively quick. And again, even though some of the top contenders through the media and the blogosphere were considered very liberal and progressive, like Pietro Parolin, that cardinal, who was Secretary of State, selecting someone like that, I believe, would have caused just further division in the church.
And what do you make of the pick of the name Leo? Can you walk us through the historic significance of the name choice?
Okay, so I love this name. It's a strong choice. The last Pope Leo was Leo the 13th, and he was a pope in the late 1800s up until the very early 1900s. And one thing that many of your viewers may not be aware is Leo the 13th, he created a prayer that is said universally in the church called the St. Michael prayer. And how did that come to be? Well, in a vision, while he was celebrating Mass, the holy sacrifice of the Mass, demonic spirits, he had a vision of demonic spirits basically attacking and congregating on Rome. And as a result, he immediately wrote down this prayer, and it is said universally as protection against Satan, basically. And yes, Pope Leo the 13th was known for uplifting the poor, the worker, something that has actually been a very common theme throughout the last several pontificates.
And is there any significance to him being the first American? I know that we talked about it on the news that a lot of Italians wanted an Italian pope, and that was kind of more of the push. So how big of a deal is it that we finally got a first American?
Well, I think it's a significant deal. I, like probably many of your viewers, feel that the papacy tends to be very Eurocentric. That, yes, you're right, there's a pattern of Italian popes. I mean, even Pope Francis, Jorge Bergoglio, was of Italian descent. His parents, I believe, were immigrants to Argentina. So I was again surprised that the Cardinals did select an American, because I think that when we see the United States of America, their hegemonic power, to centralize, I guess you could say, some people say the power of the papacy on an American, is that too much? But again, this is a cardinal, a priest, Cardinal Provost, who's now Pope Leo the 14th, who was a missionary. He spent many years as a missionary in Peru. And Europe still sees America perhaps as the new world, a missionary land for Christianity. So I think we'll have to wait and see what happens in terms of the balance of power, if you will. But the number one priority for the Pope, he's not a politician. He's the head of the church, and his job is to protect the church and to lead people to salvation.
Now, there's been a lot of debate online over where Pope Leo stands on the social issues that have sparked debate under Pope Francis. So where does the Pope stand in terms of his view on major items like the traditional Latin Mass?
Okay, well, we simply don't know where he stands on many issues because, again, he spent a lot of time as a missionary. He's an Augustinian. He was the head of the Augustinian order in North America. So he was, working in Peru as a mission. But it is, again, expected because this is what happens with the papacy, that their role again is to protect the church and to lead the church. So it is expected that the Pope will protect and defend Catholic social moral teaching. We know he's a promoter of peace, environmental protection, etc. As for specifically your question, the Latin Mass, we just don't know. I would hope and pray that there are no further restrictions on the Mass, but that in fact, not only are there no further restrictions, but the handcuffs are taken off, that they be lifted on priests who feel called by God to celebrate this very beautiful liturgy. And it's important to know that, as a little tidbit for your viewers, because I was just at the Vatican less than a year ago, and I attended this Mass, but that the Latin Mass itself is celebrated 3 times daily in the Vatican itself. And again, I participated in this Mass when I was in Rome the last time last year.
And what do you think are the biggest challenges that Pope Leo will face after taking over from Pope Francis?
It's a good question. So I appreciate it. I think for me, and conversing with many priests and Catholics, that really it is to restore unity in the church. That's not to say that there's some kind of huge division, but with Pope Francis, I mean, he was known to be at times quite abrasive, blunt, sometimes careless with words, caused a lot of divisions on the left and the right, if you will. Not that we see things in that way, but on the more, say, traditional minded or the more progressives. And I think it's so tremendous confusion. So I think the challenge will be to see how he could be a bridge builder or a unifying voice, just to keep everybody all as one, as Christ wanted, that all may be one. I personally am looking forward to seeing who he selects to head up those very important dicasteries, because as they say, personnel is policy. So that will be telling into what kind of papacy we may expect from Leo the 14th. Another one that I'd like to see decided on very clearly is what happens to Father Marco Rupnik. He's a disgraced Jesuit who has been alleged to be a serial rapist of nuns. Why is he still around? Why is his art still hanging in prominent shrines? It's a scandal. So to have some clear decision made on that, which was again pure confusion under Pope Francis's papacy, I'd like to see what the Pope Leo the 14th will do, and to make some quick and decisive action there.
Well, Tanya, as always, thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate it, and best wishes to you.